one of the things that we'll practice tonight is to step away from perfection, because you know what is the new polish? It used to really bug me when I would give a speech and somebody would say, "Oh, that's so polished." And I would think, wow, I didn't connect. That was my first thought. But here's what the new polish is authenticity. We're not going to worry about being perfect. We're not going to worry about all our ums and ahs and little things like that. We're going to focus on simple story structure and connect with people through story. And so whoever it was that said conversation to be an Orly, to be an exceptional conversationalist. Yes, absolutely. Stories in conversation, stories in business, stories for social media, and stories to put your kids to bed at night. All those things. All right. So let me lay out the red carpet of what we're going to work through tonight. For the next 10 to 12 minutes, I'm going to show you this super simple story structure. I'm going to give you a couple of handouts that I'll drop into the chat. Then you will have 5 minutes. You can turn your camera off to do this. You don't have to have your camera on. You'll have 5 minutes to yourself to craft a story with a specific mission that I will assign to you. Then we're going to put you in breakout rooms in groups of threes. I'll tell you how that's going to work. And you will have 4 to 5 minutes to share the story that you just crafted. See, you don't have time to worry about being a perfectionist. You just have time to think about how this mission that I'm going to assign you, reflect on your life, use this simple structure, and there you go. You're going to give a speech on the fly. It's simple as that. So the beauty, simplicity, and structure go together. And that, to me, when somebody can tell a beautifully structured, simple story, that's something that my brain can connect with, right? Don't you feel like that? Then you understand it, you get it. It doesn't have to be taking you all over the map. It's just you go down the highway and now you have this message and you walk away with something beautiful. So let's get right to it. And here we go. Next page, please, Rebecca. There we are. Here is the super simple story structure that I'm going to share with you. Now, first of all, let me just tell you that if you read any book on story structure, storytelling, you will get all kinds of advice. There's 3-point story structure. There's a 5-point story structure. There's a 7-point story structure. And if you boil it down, if you distill it down to its simplest form, I do agree that it really is just 3 things. And then we sort of elaborate on the 3 things to help us move through the components of it. So let's start with those 3 things first. Here we go. So we have 3 basics plus 2 more. We have a character. Every story has at least 1 character, not too many. Tonight, you're going to craft a story with 2 characters. Then number 2, there's a quest, a journey to overcome some sort of challenge to address the journey to overcome the challenge, and then the resolution, the redemption, the resting state, what I also call the new normal. And somewhere nestled in there is your magical message. Now, you notice on the side over here where it says, the bigger the contrast between the quest and the challenge, the bigger the conflict. And the conflict is what makes a story compelling, because that leaves room for emotion. And when you think about emotions, if you wouldn't mind sharing in the chat, a lot of people say there are seven key emotions, or there's 6 or 7. Can we name these in the chat? Because I'd really like us to look at all of these emotions and think about how to evoke these emotions through your story. Yes, happiness, joy, sadness, anger. What are the other ones? Fear, yes. Contempt. I think some people throw contempt into the mix. which is, yes, anger and maybe jealousy, hatred. Yeah, so there you go. It's the ups and the downs, love, of emotions that you want to bring forth using this very simple structure. So going to the next page, now we're going to take a look at those 5 steps that we talked about. And here's another way to look at that. So you're going to get this sheet. And I love color and little icons. They sort of help me understand. So when you start your story tonight, this character is going to be you. You are going to be the main character of the story you tell tonight. So who is the character? You already know the answer to that one. You think back in your life to describe the normal state. So you tap into our senses. And what are the senses that we are going to try to tap into in our stories? What senses? Can you put those in the chat as well? What senses? Smell, sight, sound. Yes. So when I was on the cool grass, I could feel it beneath my feet. I could smell the essence of the hibiscus flower in the air, whatever it was. My mother's cooking, wafting from the kitchen. I could smell the meatloaf. That always makes me, so happy. So taste, yes. So what is the most powerful sense to bring into your story? Have you heard this one? What is the most powerful sense? No, it's not sight. This is the most powerful sense that can evoke emotion in us. It is smell. It is smell. Yes. So when you think about that and crafting your story, when you go back in time, when I give you this mission, this assignment that you'll write tonight, think about where you were, what you were doing, and what you might have smelt, how you might have been feeling, what was around you, what did you see, and what did you hear? So try to actually get back to that moment in time using your senses, tapping into those senses. So here we go again. Describe the normal state. What were you doing? What were you up to in this moment in time? Something happens to create a challenge for you. The character pursues a goal. Now you have a goal to overcome this challenge. What was happening to address this challenge? That's number 2. Number 3, there's a turning point somewhere. And here's where your other character is going to come in. This is called the hero's journey. And in Toastmasters, we always say, what? We can't be the what in our story. Fill in the blank. We can't be the what in our story. Hero. We can't be our own hero. Tonight, we're going to write a legacy story. And this is, I'm putting together our district's Toastmasters Leadership Institute next weekend. And the theme is, this is legacy. I think back to all the Toastmasters that have helped me in my own journey as a speaker, as a presenter, as a leader. But I think back even further to the teachers, the coaches, the authority figures in my life that helped me at a critical juncture to get over difficulty and to move forward. And so that's what you're going to think about tonight. It could be a Toastmasters legacy story. It could be going back to your childhood, your school days, but who helped you move through a critical time in your life that you were struggling with. So you can have many different challenges. Tonight, we'll focus on just one challenge that you were faced with, that this person, whoever it is, the hero in your story, came in to help you address. And then finally, you have to tell us how the story ends. We want to know how it ends. So do you hate those movies? You all of a sudden you see the credits roll and you're like, what just happened there? Was that the end? That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. I wish I didn't even watch this movie, right? Have you watched a movie like that? Doesn't that drive you nuts? The end of the book and there's no real ending. Now, it doesn't have to be a happy ending. We love happy endings, don't we? But that's not always reality. Sometimes it's just that we learn something new and we move forward. our new normal is that we reflect on the mistake that we made and we use that for personal growth. So let me drop these two handouts in the chat real quick here. And let me grab these. This story where it ties in someone else's legacy of what they did for you, because when you share their story, you keep them alive. You know, in a speech that I gave on my own legacy story, we moved from Ohio to Davis, California after my father took his life. I didn't know anyone, new town, devastated by the loss of my father. And it was a very, very lonely year. Plus, I was 14 years old. I felt awkward and ugly, you know, all those things. There was a teacher, Mrs. Dorothy West, who noticed me. I was in her choir class, and she held me back one day right before I left. And she said, for the very first time, we've never done this in school at Emerson Junior High School. We are going to put on a musical called The Ballad of Braun Michael. I've picked out some music for you, and I would like you to just right now, let's give it a go. She sat down at the piano, started to play, and I still have this music in a folder. I found it the other day. It's all crunched up. It was a song that goes like this. It goes, blue moon, you saw me standing alone, without a dream in my heart, without a love of my own. I sang that song, I auditioned, and crazily, I got the lead. And that one opportunity where I made friends, finally felt a part of something, felt appreciated, recognized, changed my life completely. Changed my life. So you're going to think back to a time in your life where you were at a low, someone did that for you. And the handouts are in the chat right now. And you're going to share that story tonight. And I can't wait to hear. So here we go. This is sort of a blown up version of what we just went over. The character, what was your state of mind as the story opens? Add some details such as age, where you were living, your goals, your dreams, what is your basic situation? What happens to set your story in motion? What challenge appears in your life to present an opportunity for growth? How does this challenge make you feel? The journey to overcome the challenge. How does that happen? How does your hero help you overcome this journey? What happens at the end? How does a story resolve? What changes take place in your life? And finally, the last thing that you'll share is what you learned, the lesson learned, because your lesson that you learned is our message to learn from you. What you learned with this person, with the hero's help, becomes our message, my message, that we all walk away with. Part of that person, part of you is now part of us. So we're going to give you're not going to go into breakout rooms yet. We're going to give you 5 minutes on the clock to line out these 5 of your story. Again, very simple. You'll have 45 minutes to share. When we get to the end of 5 minutes, I'll give you some very clear instructions for your breakout room. You'll go to breakout rooms, 3 people to a room, and you'll get to hear 3 legacy stories tonight. And then we'll come back and we're going to do something else. All right, 5 minutes on the clock. Are there any questions before we start the timer? So Marilyn, you're going to go first. So let's spotlight Marilyn. Take it away, Marilyn.
I live by the adage that attitude is everything. I grew up in California, and I was a single parent way back in the 80s. I have one child named Patience. That was a cruel joke by her father. I pretty much raised Patience since she was 2. It was really tough because I more or less dropped out of school when I pledged myself to her father and knowing that that marriage probably wasn't going to work out. And I was right. Somehow, though, I landed at this company that wasn't a company when I started, Marketing Research Partners. It was 3 guys who worked in the radio industry. And it wasn't a company when I started. It was just some people who were conducting radio research. And then it became a company, and I kind of was at the top. The guys would hand me a project and they would say to do this, and somehow I would accomplish it. You know, looking back, I really don't know how, but it was just maybe something that was sort of intuitive, maybe something that I was born with. You know, but life got really tough. You know, Patience's dad wasn't easy to get along with, and he didn't really support us. And I wasn't making a lot of money. And we took on a client. His name is Alan Mason. We did a lot of projects for Alan. And I remember one year, Alan sent me a card. All it said was, "Attitude is everything, and yours is the best."
Oh.
You know, there were days that I didn't know how I was going to be able to make the payment on the phone bill. I didn't really know how I was going to be able to afford tuition for my daughter's school or repair the car if it broke down. And at those times, I would take out that card that said, "Attitude is everything." A couple of years later, Alan Mason changed from being a sole proprietor working as a radio consultant up in Oregon and was hired by Paxson Communications in Florida. And I went from making barely enough money to survive when Alan called me and offered me a job. And he said, "Here's what I'll pay you." So I packed up, moved to Florida with my daughter, and began a whole new life. And I think back on those times, and that's a lesson sometimes because, you know, we all run into challenges through our whole life. And it's how we face them. And attitude is everything.
Beautiful. Wow. Very, so lovely how you articulated, crafted, led us through. And are you in contact with Alan to this day? Do you know where he is?
I know where he is, and we kind of know people who know people, and he's finally retired. And
oh, I hope we have this recorded. You're going to have to send him a link so he can hear this. Yes.
I will.
Yeah.
Thank you. That would be great.
Bill had his hand raised.
Oh, Bill. Okay. I don't see that. That's funny. Okay. Bill, please.
Yes, I had a great coach, and I was really lucky to have met him. I was kind of heading in the wrong direction. I was a little bit scared at school because, you know, people were getting violent, and my particular class was a problem there, where it wasn't organized crime; it was more disorganized, and just a lot of drugs going on, a lot of problems, a lot of temptations going along, people abusing alcohol. Anyways, my coach developed an interest in me and said, you know, kind of real encouraging. And I ended up getting involved with track and cross country. And, you know, he really encouraged me along the way. I went from a student that was probably getting a C minus, and that's probably being generous to myself. And everybody on the cross country team were very disciplined physically. They, you know, would run 3 to 6 miles, sometimes even more. Very disciplined about the school, and in order to be eligible to play, you had to have good grades. So I started doing that, and it really kind of gave me some direction and some discipline. I ended up. Sole reason I went to college was because I wanted to run, and was able to do that. And he was just a real pivotal person in my life.
And how have you, it's funny. I think we think back, we don't think about it at the time, or I didn't anyway. I think a lot of kids are that way. You get to an age where you start thinking of your own legacy, and then you look back, right? And you see who helped you along the way when you were at, different ages. And then sometimes it's too late. It's too late to say thank you. So you just say thank you, right? This is a case like that, probably, right?
No, he's 80 years old, and
Okay.
I recently called him up. I mean, I think it was just a week ago. We had a great conversation. I told him what impact he had in my life, and got me on the straight and narrow, and where my classmates were involved with drugs and all sorts of bad things, and just let him know that helped me, and it got me into college, and I ended up getting into college and liking it, and did well academically because I don't know, it was interesting, and all that wouldn't have happened without him.
Yeah. Oh, how wonderful that you were able to share.
We had a chance to connect and tell stories. It was really nice, and I had been wanting to do it for years, and I finally did it, so it felt great.
So this is the first time that you've seen him since you were that age that he helped you?
No, I've seen him a couple of times.
Okay. This is the first time that you shared with him what an impact that he made in your life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. What a gift. What a gift for you and for him. I love that. Thank you so much. I hope that you will share that story again and again. It's beautiful. Yeah. Thank you. Do we have time for one more, Madam Timer? Now we have 6 minutes, you said. Okay.
Well, that was before.
Okay.
You have 4 and 4:15, 4:20.
Okay. Is there anyone else who would like to share a legacy story with us, a 2 to 3 minute version of the story, following those 5 simple steps? And I will tell you while I'm looking at for a raised hand that I was not as fortunate as Bill several years ago. It was 4 years ago now that I thought about Dorothy West. I was just rifling through some old papers, and I found the script and the music and that sheet of paper that she had given me that I'd saved. And I thought, that's when I reflected on what she did for me. So I Googled her, and I found out, this is just crazy. This was all in Davis, California, that she had moved up to Everett, Washington to be near her brother the last years of her life, the last 5-6 years of her life. She lived 10 miles from me in Everett, and she died at the Providence Hospital just a mile from my house. And, I just didn't have the presence of mind then, until I got older and started thinking about my own death, my own someday death, to think back on what others had done for me. So I'm so happy for you, Bill, that you were able to do that. It was wonderful.
Thank you.
I'll see if I can go fast. You want me to
Okay.
go fast?
Yes.
Oh, right. I'll give it a go. I was a square, a total square. I did, however, love music. And the community I came from, music was not square. However, my family moved a lot. My father was a librarian with an itchy foot. We moved to Alaska, which was a great adventure. And it was really hard on those of us still in school and changing schools. And this was just about high school time for me. It was really rough. And I landed from a very conservative town in Minnesota into Alaska, where there was smoking and drinking and drugs and swearing and all these things that were so foreign to me. I didn't know what to do with myself. And then came Bernie. Bernie Hendricks was probably a child of the 60s. He wore black motorcycle clothes, and he had this kind of panther-like walk. He was the coolest teacher, and he taught music. It was the most incredible thing. I went into that class, I sat down. Now, I knew a lot about music, and he taught everyone solfege, which is a way of sight reading using hand signals. And I could read music because of Bernie and his teaching about the life-changing possibilities of music. I actually had friends that year, so it was a most powerful thing. It wasn't so much the message he gave as the way he was, and that somehow he helped me make a transition from being a total reject into being accepted as a part of a group.
Oh my gosh, there you go again. See, our lives are parallel, Lindy. You had Bernie, I had Dorothy West in music class. Oh my gosh.
There you have it. My sister.
What year was that? How old were you?
That was 10th grade.
Oh, 10th grade. Okay. Okay. Mine was the 9th grade. Okay. Wow. See?
About the
Oh my
same.
gosh. That's incredible. Beautiful. I love how you're an exceptional storyteller. All of the, the swagger, the walk, I could totally see him, the child of the 60s, all of that. I feel like I just watched a movie. Excellent. Excellent. Okay. We don't have time. Oh, we're on red. So everyone will be flooding back in here. Those are great stories. And we are at great. Here we come. Here they come. Walking down the street. Get the funniest looks from everyone we meet. What's the next line?
Hey, we're the monkeys.
Hey, we're the monkeys. People say we monkey around, but we're too busy singing to put anybody, what's the last word?
Down.
Again, no one under 40 will know that song either. We should we should have a club. No one under 40 knows anything we say. No one. Okay, we're all back in here. I would love to, at this time, we're going to take 5 minutes for you to raise your hand, unmute, and share something that you experienced in your room, either something that you learned in your own story journey or something that you enjoyed learning from someone else. And we're going to use the raise hand feature for this. It's in the bottom of your chat next to reactions. And I'd love for a few people at least to share with us something that you experienced, something that you learned. And I don't see any hands raised yet, but I know there will be some. I'm putting my mind out there. We're Toastmasters. We like to talk.
I've got mine up.
Oh,
Roxanne, I can't spotlight you because you don't have the video on. So go ahead and talk.
Go ahead and talk.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. And yes, I apologize for that. My camera is busted and my webcam isn't in yet. Here's what happened to me. Smell is the most powerful. So I was thinking I'm going to use one with smell. And I got so caught up in trying to find a story surrounding smell that the 5 minutes was up and I had no story. But because you had given us this structure, when my name is called and the timer starts, I was able to put something together The other problem I was having with my story is that I kept coming up with stories where I was not the character. So they are real stories connected to my life, but they weren't me. I had stories of my mother and my grandmother and everybody else except me. And the one that came to my mind, I'm thinking, all right, what was my big aha, my big turn, my big, oh my goodness, you were so ugly before and look at you now. And I was able to tell that story in a way that I had not put it together in my mind before, because of the structure you had laid out. And of course, your step 5 was, and give your message. So at the end, when I saw the red card, I was able to kind of put a message in there. Said all that to say this: if I were given 5 minutes to throw a story together and put my hand up, me, I'd be able to do it. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Excellent. I love that. And it's sort of like the ugly duckling becomes the beautiful swan, right? Is that the story?
Sort of, kind of, yes.
Yeah. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I'm so glad. And I'm sorry that you got stuck on the smell. I'm sorry. Maybe I shouldn't have brought that up. Okay, let's hear from Rosemary, and then
I've got Hannah-Laura spotlighted alongside you, Rebecca. Excuse me.
Oh, sorry. I have things covering up. Go ahead, please. Thank you.
Well, I learned that I'm not as bad at ad-libbing as I thought I was. I had only the merest outline to go on, just an incident, and I didn't really get enough time to fill it in, and I said, heck, I'm just gonna fly with whatever comes to mind. And then I was the timer, so I went last, and time was running out, and I realized I'm gonna have to wrap this up. They're gonna take me back to the main room in 12 seconds. So I also learned to truncate a story, but still get my point across. So that was very helpful.
Oh, I'm so thrilled. We have time for one more. Is that Rosemary? Should we spotlight Rosemary?
Sure it is.
That's great. It's like a diamond under pressure, right? Hannah-Laura, it's like a diamond under pressure. Awesome. Okay, go ahead, Rosemary.
I too never realized that I could write a story in such a short space of time and have, well, the bare minimum, but the most impactful. And so in writing the story, when you said the smell is one, in my story, what I was writing, it brought me back to the day I was writing about over 9 years ago, and I could still smell the scent of the freshly mowed grass, because the area we were having the meeting, there is close to a lawn, and there was that lawn being mowed down, and it was very, very informative. I really thank myself for staying up. It is now about 10:30 p.m. and I am here and wanting to learn more. Thank you.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. Well, and that's the thing too, if you're going to have a little more time and prepare the speech, we don't always know what the message is. And Hannah-Laura, that was a good example. And until the end, sometimes the message just sort of percolates up and there it is. And then from all of that work, we can come up with a sensational title, right? I usually do the title as the last thing. That's the icing on the cake, or maybe it's the sprinkles on the icing. I'm not sure. If you can think back to the speech that you gave tonight, using that super simple structure, and thinking about it, if you can come up with a title for it now, not a title that you have to commit to, but a title that just sort of pops into your head, I would love to see a list of awesome titles in the chat. And or if you wanted to share your message instead, your clear, concise, 10 words or less message, you can share that also, either a title or a message from your super simple story tonight. Let's see what kind of titles and messages we have in the chat from all of you. That's kind of the fun part, right? Coming up with that title at the end. Let it all hang out. Woo! I want to hear that story. Okay. Look at this, everybody. Nerds get cool. The lost suitcase. Yes, attitude is everything. That was a great story. Your stories are the best stories or other. Yes. Reach in, reach out, reach up. Look at these. This is like very obvious. We have some skilled Toastmasters in the room. Look at these titles. Evidence. Keep on biking. Running in the right direction. Have courage. Will travel. Fantastic. Small things matter a lot. Indeed, they do. Excellent. I was an email pariah. Sometimes you can't pay back, but you can always pay forward. These are upcoming TED Talks. And really, when you take the simple story structure and you compound it by 3, so you have those, the ups and the downs, that roller coaster that we talked about, and then you do another one, and then you do another one. So you're taking your audience like this through the story, and then you go splash, you get to the end. That's a TED Talk. You take what you did, you multiply it by 3, you add 2 extra roller coasters in the middle, and that is your TED Talk right there. That's your long form killer presentation. And it's really as simple as what you just did tonight in 5 minutes. It's incredible. Well, let's review a little bit. You have the handouts. Now you know you don't need to sweat and toil over crafting a story. You can use these 5 steps, craft one on the fly. People will think you've been practicing it for weeks. And you're like, no, actually, I just put that together in 5 minutes. And then they're going to want to know how, and you can teach them. You can use this technique that I taught you tonight. You can take it to your clubs and you can teach people, because here's the thing, right? We have new Toastmasters who come in and they are thinking this is a big, big deal, giving a speech, and I'm going to cancel at the last minute because it's not perfect. And I'm afraid people will judge me. And you say, no, use the simple story structure, put it together and do it, and it will be fabulous, right? So use this in your clubs to help people rise to the occasion when the opportunity to share a simple story presents itself. So we've covered the 5 simple steps. We've done a group exercise. We've heard some amazing legacy stories, and it's been my absolute pleasure to share my secrets for crafting super simple 5-step stories with you this evening. Thank you.
Everyone, please give a round of Zoom applause for Rebecca P. Murray. Thank you so much, Rebecca. This has been an absolute pleasure. Hey, everyone, take a minute and type in the chat what your favorite thing about tonight was, what you're taking away, or what you thought was the most fun. So fun, says Marilyn, who told an amazing story, by the way, in the main room while you were in breakout rooms.
Yes, she did.
What else have you got here? Simple, that it's not so hard to tell stories. Excellent takeaway. Hearing the stories, the structure of the story. Perfect. Speaking of structure, I want you to know I'm going to go into Eventbrite. I'm going to send out the handout. I realize everyone has different challenges on getting it, so I'm going to send it out that way. So if you didn't get it any other way, it will be coming in your email. Story structure, crafting a story is that easy. This is great. You know, your club is going to love you because you're going to be able to come up and be that speaker when we're missing a speaker. And you know, that happens more often than you wish it did. So yes, congratulations to you for having a new way to do it. Push through writer's block on the fly. The takeaway is it's fun and easy. This is great. And I am so pleased that you all came out on a Thursday night in the middle of a long week and took the time to have some fun, to enjoy the story. I want to add to here that we have a monthly newsletter at at our club, Professionally Speaking. And that is one place you can sign up to get the newsletter and keep an eye on what we're going, because we do all kinds of great events like this one tonight. We're featuring Rebecca, and we would love to have you come back and see us again soon. It's 8 o'clock on the top. I will, let's see, our Madam President did slip in, but I think I will just ask her to wave, and I will adjourn the meeting unless anyone knows there's something really that I have to say that I've forgotten. Otherwise, thank you all for being here tonight. See you next time, and tell your stories.
Yes, yes. And I will say that twist at the end with the skunks, that I'm gonna take that with me. It's that surprise, you know, that little left turn. I love that. That was excellent.
That was completely awesome.
So good. What's that smell? P.U.
And I'm going to be here for a minute. If anybody wants to say something, unmute and say something, you're welcome to.
Yep.
I'm just
wanted
going
to
to
ask
say you
Rebecca-
ladies were wonderful. What was it you said in the beginning, Rebecca, that something or other, authenticity is the new, what was
Polish.
it? The new
Polish.
polish. Well, ladies, you were both so polished. Your authenticity, you were relatable. You were both a joy to have. I'm in awe.
Oh, thank you.
I
Thank
want to
you.
be you when I grow up.
The feeling is mutual. The feeling is mutual. Anybody who can take us, do it with a story like you did at the end, that creativity, oh my gosh, off the charts. Off
Why,
the charts.
thank you. Creativity is one of the areas I'm working on. So I'm constantly saying that I am a creative genius.
Yes, you are. I agree.
Yeah.
You demonstrated it here in front of all of us. Yes.